I hope you're doing well. I'm creating this video as one of your classmates suggested that I create a voice note to explain the assessments in case there is some room for, or in case there is any confusion. But I've decided to create a video so I can actually take you through the instructions step by step and go through the task and hopefully to clear up any misconceptions. If my video does not address all of the questions you may have, as always, please feel free to engage with me on Moodle or better yet, put it in the student forum so that all of your classmates can also benefit from your question and the answer or the response to your question. Okay, so uh, basically, I always start with the purpose, and the purpose indicates why we are doing this task. And in this case, I really want you to have an opportunity to apply and integrate some of the learning that you have been exposed to and that you have picked up over the last couple of semesters, not just this semester, because you've picked up quite a number of skills that you've come with and that you've developed over the last couple of semesters. So the intent is to integrate all of that to create this assignment. So the weighting for this assignment is 10%, so it's quite big. This is a policy creation task, and you will look at existing policies and use this as a map for how you'll create your own policy, which is a bit of an ideal. So you've been exposed to some content this unit, and so all of that content should hopefully impact how you'll create your policy. So the rationale, I've decided this year to add rationale because sometimes students ask me, why are we even doing this assignment? What is the point? As I said to you at the beginning of this module or the semester, I always have an intent with every assignment. I don't just create an assessment for the sake of marks and for giving you feedback on your assignment, but it's also for you to develop some type of skill, to be exposed to some type of content and some type of information. And so in this case, I want you to be exposed to different theorists and theories that exist to understand that what we do is underpinned by something, by a theory created by a theorist or a proponent of that theory. And this person has thought about learning in a specific way for a specific reason. Of course, theorists, as we all are influenced by their background, by their training, by their experience, and people that have obviously impacted them. So, for example, their lecturers, their professors, a doctor, anybody like that. Okay, the other rationale is to work on how theories can actually be applied in practice. So often we learn about these theories, but they aren't really practical. So we want to figure out and work through how do we apply these in practice. Now, I don't mark you down if I can see that you're trying to apply, but perhaps you're missing the boat. I want to see the process of your application. I want to see you trying to apply the theory. I also would like to expose you to various policies. I think it's really important that educators, especially educators in the process of learning, are exposed to as many policies as possible because these do guide us and they give us much needed information on how to go about working in the classroom space. So this is activities also to expose you to some of those. And then of course, what I like about this is thinking about your ideal school. When you think about your ideal school, that does mean you have to think about the current or the reality. So that helps you to reflect on the reality, what is working, what is not working, doing a bit of a SWOT analysis, and therefore you're able to create your ideal school because you know what works and what doesn't work. So there are many skills, there are many workings, there are many ideas and whys for why this assessment is important. So let's get to the task and the instructions for the task. For this unit, you have gone through the historical progression of the field. Again, the historical progression is important to understand the various iterations of the field, and that will then lead you to understand how certain theorists thought about education. And you will find that you agree with some of them and you disagree with some of them, which is completely your prerogative, and that's perfectly okay. It's important that you have a viewpoint. It's important that you know how you feel about something. Yes, when we learn about a field, we are still understanding the concepts, but it doesn't mean you have to agree with everything that you are being exposed to. So now you're going to use the information to create your very own educational policy. This is going to be a snapshot of what a policy actually is. What you're going to do first is you're going to download a few policies. I say a minimum of 2, but you can do as many as you like. So for example, the white paper 6 or the policy on learner attendance, etc. I just want you to look at the structure of a policy. How is the policy made up? What are the various components of a policy? You can look at, for example, you can even look at acts like the School Act, for example. Look at what a policy actually looks like. So then I always try to break down the instructions into steps. I know it looks like quite a bit because of all the steps, but I try to take you through it step by step to give you an understanding of the expectation. So you will look at a few policies and you will download them from the Department of Education website, and you will look at the structure, how they've been created, what they include, and that will be give you an idea of how you're going to structure your document. So that's just a starting point. That's just some of the background research. Then you will choose a theorist or a theory. I said yeah, theorist or theorists. So you can choose one or more than one depending on what you would like to do. You will look at the contribution that they've made to the field, and then you'll start by explaining who the theorist is and what the approach to education or what their theory is about. And I want you to weave in why this theorist, why did you choose this person? What about their theory appeals to you? What makes you feel connected to this theory? You will of course provide all the references for the articles you've read, both the articles that I've uploaded or the video I've uploaded, as well as other references that you consult as well, perhaps an EBSCO host or Google Scholar or EDIC or whatever the case may be. Also remember, do not only use websites. I want you to vary your resources as far as possible. Part 3, you'll now create your mini policy and you'll write this as a school guide or as a guide to a school on how they need to approach their learning and teaching. So think about the fact that, for example, a new school is being built and you are writing the policy of what you want to see in the school. So to break it down, your assignment will be structured in the following way. You'll always have a cover page. Some students like to add an index page. It makes your work look professional, but this is your choice. Just small things like adding an index page, adding page numbers, that does add a new additional component to your assignment. It's not a must, it's just a piece of advice from me. Then page 2, you will start with the theorist, identify the theorist, who is the theorist, give a little bit of background about the theorist, and then why, and then of course explain the theory as well, and then why you've chosen this theory as the foundation for your policy or your guide. What is the reason that this is the one you feel works well? You will then you can as long as all of these components are included, you can add the pages as you like. You'll do a situational analysis. So what does education currently look like? What do you see around you? What is the current educational landscape? What are the advantages? What are the disadvantages? And so on and so forth. You'll also have a page. You'll see many policies have a purpose of this document page. You'll add a brief, even if it's a paragraph, a purpose of the document, why this document created, and then the policy part, which is the big part of your assignment. You will now talk to the school about how the school will be run. So you'll add in components like uniform, attendance, teacher expectations of teachers, expectations of the principal. Look at the current documentation available, and this is really going to guide you. And of course, as always, you end with a reference list. So make this as full or as interesting and as in-depth as you would like it to be. Remember that you don't have to stick to what you see around you right now. You can make it as ideal as you would like it to be. Okay, so now I'd like to go through the rubric because the rubric is very important, and learning to read a rubric, I know many of you already know how to, but learning to read a rubric is really very, very important. I work with rubric ranges, so as you can see from 1 to 5, because I will read the information and try to ascertain where on that 1 to 5 continuum you fall. Some people might give a brief or rush explanation, but it might be 1 or 2 lines, where another person also gives a brief or rushed explanation, but it might be 4 lines with a little bit more information. So I create some leeway to allow people that are doing a little bit more, but still not meeting that second criteria, still giving them, an ability to get to a higher mark range. My rubrics are always provided to allow you to get the highest mark that you possibly can, because I know that marks are important to students. So I do want to equip you with the tools to get the best mark that you can. Okay, so quickly, not so that I don't keep you too much longer. Basically, comprehensive introduction to the theorist and or his theory. So start with the theorist, who the theorist is, what is their theory about, and then of course why it appeals to you. So don't forget that part. So if you read the rubric criteria, you can see you've just provided introduction. You provide introduction and discuss why it appeals to you, and then this will be the next level in your discuss it in detail, also provided a reason of why it appeals to you. Situation analysis, so providing an insight to our current situation. You've created a purpose of this document, so be very specific, even if it's just a paragraph or when I say paragraph, I don't mean 3 or 4 lines, I mean a large paragraph. At least make sure that it's worth 10 marks. Then a guide on how this policy is to be implemented. And so you will have various paragraphs in this section. As you can see, 27 marks is quite a lot. In my rubrics, I do have a lower mark range, but I expect you to do quite a lot from 5 marks, for example. So if I have 27 marks, that is a great expectation from my side. So I do not expect just one page. I want to really see how you detail what the school is going to look like. I do not expect you to go into impossible nitty-gritty, but just things like, for example, the late policy, the attendance policy, the support policy, those types of things. And if you write a paragraph on each, that would be sufficient. But I do want to see your detail. I want to see your insight. I want to see your thinking. I want to see why you've done what you've done. Usually I do not provide marks for reference lists, but in this case I do, because I want to see that you have referenced documents, official documents, policies. I want to see that you've referenced many various sources of reference, such as websites, books, textbooks, etc. I want to see a varied type of reference list. So I do hope, and of course it's out of 60, I do hope that this has given you some insight into my expectations. Please feel free to ask any questions if you do have them. Have a lovely day and good luck with your assessment. I look forward to marking